welcome everybody to this webinar about NextGEOSS Data Hub. We will have a first look. This is what we call it, a first look on the NextGEOSS CKAN-based data hub for Earth observations. We have these webinars monthly, and we, in this case, is me. I'm Bente Liljaby. I'm from Norway. I'm one of the partners in the NextGEOSS project that you will hear more about. I have been involved in the work of with Earth observations since 2004, and I enjoy it so much. It's so meaningful, and I'm delighted to have with me here Wolfgang Zoll from Viderum, and I'm letting Wolfgang tell you who he is. Wolfgang.
Yes, in the NextGEOSS project, I'm the project manager for the Data Hub, and other than Bente, I have the groundings in mining and not Earth observation from satellites. So we are completely good team together. So I'm enjoyed to introduce today the film where we will see what the beta release of the NextGEOSS Data Hub now is. We will see how the harvest sources and how we can get harvested by OpenSearch, and we will see how you can give feedback by user feedback mechanism through Nimbus, and then we will have a first look at pilots programs which we attach to the data
Don't
hub.
reveal everything. Don't reveal everything yet. So because before you will hear more about all what Wolfgang said just there, we will go through the next 30 minutes or so. We will introduce you first to NextGEOSS. For those of you who are not that familiar with the project, you will get a quick fix on that. And then Wolfgang will take you into a deep dive of the Data Hub itself. And first, you will know what's there right now. Then, as he mentioned, a video. We will show you a video of about 9 minutes. And then the future plans for our beta release will be revealed. So you are lucky to be here. You are the first one to learn about what we have up the sleeve for the future of the NextGEOSS Data Hub. And then we also, towards the end, we have created a survey that we will introduce to you and ask you to share and fill in, of course. But some housekeeping maybe first. So like I said, we plan on spending around 30 minutes on this webinar, and you have the possibility now to ask questions directly to Wolfgang and me here in the webinar room. So there's a chat box where you can write your questions. I hope that you can see it. If let's have a check and see if you can say hello in the chat box, so we can see that this communication channel is open. While you are doing that, so please write in the chat box, say hi, say where you're from. That would be very nice for us to know. While you are doing that, I will prepare the short quick fix, as I said, about the NextGEOSS project, and then you will hear more from Wolfgang after that. So hold on, I will share my screen. Hello, Simon. I see Simon is here. That's good. Let's see now. Mark, hello, Mark from Paris. Oh well, Simon from from Paris. Okay, yeah. So I will share a screen with you. Here we go. I assume you can see that. I will try to start from the top. Wolfgang, can you let me know if you see the first slide?
Yes, I see it. Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, so the next generation European Data Hub and Cloud Platform is what you're going to learn about. It's a European Horizon 2020 project. Now, let's see. We are focusing on the user. So a lot of our work is around the user engagement. And the users will tell us how to prepare the data. And of course, we will cooperate with the users. The users in this case is both data providers and data users. And we prepare the data so that it will be easier for you to find it. And we have then a platform set up where you can then eventually integrate various applications in the pilots. And you will hear more about a couple of pilots in the video that I mentioned later on. So we have pilots where we focus really about around user communities and how they can make use of various types of Earth observations. Like Wolfgang said, we do have indeed data collected about our planet from space, but we also dig underground and go deep into the core of a planet and everything in between. They are all Earth observations. And then finally, we want this to be to service of in different applications in different ways. So that's the user experience. And we have a couple or 2, 3, 4 features I will just quickly mention. The user feedback mechanism. And the user feedback mechanism will enable us to make it easier actually for you who use the data hub to find what you want that is fit for purpose, the information that you're looking for, the data that you're looking for. And we do also develop an advanced discovery tools. And like I said, we are really developing our solutions around the community. And we ask the community what they want. So that we are making sure, trying the best we can to make our solutions so, in fact, useful and adding value to these communities. The strategy for this is to be open, inclusive, and have a very agile development strategy. And this is the beta release that you are learning about later today is part of that strategy. So we have several releases that will enable us to actually take up the feedback we get from the communities and implement that in the solution. So, and very short, quick facts here is the Horizon 2020 project. We are 27 partners from 13 countries. The project started late 2016. It will last to mid-2020. The budget is 10 million euros. And you see, I won't go into the details about all the partners, but there are a large variety of us. Here is where you can find more out about NextGEOSS. We are on Twitter, and please like us or follow us there, and do tag us if you have some important information you want us to share. We like to accommodate the community the best we can. The NextGEOSS.eu is where we occasionally write some blog posts. We will increase that activity in the future as the results are coming out. But you can find the essentials of the project there. The beta release, hold your horses, or whoa, this is going to happen in January. So, but this is where you get the sneak peek. So, can you hear me? I'm trying to come back to the...
Yes, I can hear you.
You can hear me, but you cannot see me, can you?
I see you in the small window, and the slides are
not in the big. The slides are always there. Okay.
Yeah.
Here.
And now you are great.
Yes. Okay, so that was a very quick introduction to NextGEOSS. So now you know the framework of this data hub that Wolfgang now will deep dive into. So Wolfgang, the floor is yours.
Yeah, okay, thank you. We will see it in more detail in the film, but what does data hub mean? We have sources from mainly from the Copernicus program of the European Union. where we have the Sentinel missions, where different satellites produce different type of data, photographs, radar, and even other measurements. And these data are somewhere in the European Union, and we harvest them. That means we look at the metadata, and you can search through the metadata for those data you want to see. So the first task for us is to harvest a lot of data sources, look what they have in it, and then to store it in our database. This is now going on 2 instances, a staging instance and a production instance of the CKAN-based data hub, and we will have attached an open search interface that you can harvest our data hub by your own programs, or you can access us through a web interface and search there normally. The mentioned user feedback mechanism with Nimbus means that you can give a command to every single data set, which is not only stored as our CKAN, but also in the Nimbus. So it has access to a greater community of Earth observation freaks. And the last thing I want to mention is that we will start to expose pilots which use these data. And let me say some words. Agriculture, biodiversity, or smart cities are topics which are most interesting now. If you think to all problems we have now with the performance of crops on the acre, where we will not want to use different chemicals. So this is very important to keep the crop good. And for example, in the smart city, we have pollution questions with air pollution, water pollution, which must be solved in the next time. And the Earth observation is good help therefore. So let's have a look on the film. It's a more technical view for now. Let me say the last thing. I had exposed my mail address. If you want to have access in the next weeks and you are an internal partner, then send me a mail and you can have a look on it. If you are an external partner, we will start in the first quarter of 2018 to incorporate external partners, consultancies who use data to consult farmers and so on.
Yeah.
So,
so we will open the data hub, as Wolfgang said, to also external pilots. So we will test out more community problems, if you like, and we will inform about this in the first webinar for sure in January. More how to go about to if you have some ideas around having a pilot to our NextGEOSS data hub, you will get some more information on how you can go about to do that in January. But now you said, Wolfgang, we are ready for the video, right? So it's yes. So the video is 9 minutes, a little bit over 9 minutes. You will get and also a more deeper dive into one concrete pilot, as Wolfgang said. The agriculture is the topic that will be used as an illustration, so you know that beforehand. And then we will take you step by step through how to actually use the data hub, so you get a first quick look and also a hand holding you to go through it. I know I need that. So here we go.
Hello. Today's webinar is an introduction to the beta release of the NextGEOSS Data Hub. We'll begin with an overview of the data flow in the Data Hub, before walking through an interactive demonstration together. When looking at this chart, you will need to move with me from the left to the right. Work Package 3 defines the data sources that are to be harvested in the Data Hub. These are documented in the Data Discovery Guide. Work Package 2.2 builds connectors for these data sources, which allow CKAN to harvest the metadata of the sources and make them searchable on the platform. We're testing eye tagging in the beta release to automatically enrich the metadata. For example, geographical coordinates from the raw data can be tagged with the name of the state or the city, which can then be used as a filter for search. In 2018, we will apply metadata standards like DCAT, GeoDCAT AP, and ISO. Once the data are harvested and the metadata are in the CKAN database, they can be searched in several ways. With an ordinary web browser, a search can be done through the standard search interface, or by choosing filters or categories. And there are also several programming interfaces which can search the data hub. An open search interface is implemented and tested. The normal CKAN API is available. And if there's demand, RDF and Sparkle extensions for semantic web operations will be installed. Nimbus provides an exciting option for user feedback. The Nimbus user feedback program is integrated using the Open API, and it means that if you make a comment on a specific dataset within the Data Hub, your comment is sent to Nimbus and the answer will be integrated into the external application. The NextGEOSS project has 10 pilot projects. They use data from the Data Hub, but in some cases add value with their own additional datasets. If they change the raw data, for example by adding more detailed timestamps or by mixing satellite photo data with numerical data, these resulting datasets can also be made available through the Data Hub, so that they can then be harvested by third parties. Every pilot has its own page on the Data Hub to give information about the pilot project and details of the additional value-added datasets, if they exist, that are searchable and harvestable. A user has at least 3 ways to benefit from the Data Hub. They can access it directly through the web interface, they can access the metadata through an API, or they can make indirect use of the metadata and raw data through pilot applications. Okay, so let's take a more detailed look at the Data Hub, while I walk you through some of its features. The NextGEOSS Data Hub project lets you search the metadata database. Here at the top is where you access the search. And I'm going to show you datasets, providers, and topics. So let's click through to datasets. On the datasets page, you can navigate to the data in a few different ways. By searching, through the different filters, or by accessing the datasets directly. So we'll select one and click on it. If you select a dataset, you can see an area from where that data is coming from by looking at the map area at the top of the page. And this is also the place where you can get more information on the data, or you can download the raw data. So on the Data Hub, you're able to comment on every dataset. This will allow you as a user to add some context which might help somebody else, or it'll allow you to ask a question, or to suggest some improvements. Now, comments are going to be integrated with the Nimbus user feedback system. And this means that the comment on a particular dataset is not only going to be available inside the NextGEOSS Data Hub, but also in other platforms of the Geo community. So let's have a look at how this works on the Data Hub itself. So we're on the staging site now. So we're going to select a dataset, and we will select a Sentinel-2 mission. And let's choose this one. So this is a dataset with a visualization. Here you can download the data, additional information here, detailing the metadata. We can share this if we like, and here you'll see this button for adding community feedback. And this takes us to the Nimbus system. So you need an account in order to be able to log in. And I think it's also worth mentioning at this stage that for the moment, this only works on the Chrome browser. So we'll just sign in. And now when you're logged in, it's as simple as going through all of the different possible inputs and leaving your comments, telling them who you are, what your comment is about, and you can also give a rating for the resource. Now, once this is created, the data is going to flow through to CKAN, and then your comment will be available on that dataset on the CKAN portal. If you want to access the Data Hub through your own program, rather than through a web browser, you can do this through the OpenSearch interface. An OpenSearch query may start with this command, and you will get an XML answer like the one on the right-hand side of this slide. NextGEOSS has 10 pilots where the raw data is processed and value is added for different topics like agriculture, biodiversity, or energy. These topics have their own pages where you'll be able to find links to more information, tools that you can download, or even applications which you can start online in the NextGEOSS cloud. So, of all these examples, there's no data in the moment, but we can click on one to get the idea. This is agriculture. To measure the success of the Data Hub, some key performance indicators, or KPIs, are measured automatically by the portal. Datasets, sources, and monthly users are measured and compared to goals. So, what's to come? The staging and production engine now have migrated to an EGI infrastructure like other parts of the project. This will show whether the current configuration delivers acceptable performance or if we need to make changes to the architecture. The first connectors are implemented and we're harvesting more and more datasets. The beta will show whether the actual configuration is working well or whether architectural improvements will have to be made. For example, load balancing for requests or several harvesters running in parallel, etc. Improvements will be made following issues which are reported by users to the Jira interface in the Data Hub. We'll begin to integrate more NextGEOSS pilots, and in Work Package 8, we'll be describing the business case and potential benefits to end users and working to ensure that we are creating a sustainable platform. Thank you for your interest.
Okay.
So here we are again.
Yes, so here we are again. So please, if you do have questions, we would be very happy to hear from you. If there's any questions related to the Data Hub, the video introduction we just showed, or if you have any burning questions based on the information you've gotten thus far in this webinar, please do write to us in the chat box, and we will answer the best we can. While you are thinking about that, I think we are ready to hear about the future plans and what we can expect in the beta release. Wolfgang, what do you have for us?
Yes, we have now migrated to another platform with two instances. It's a staging instance and a production instance, and both instances are harvesting now data, and there are a lot of data from the Sentinel missions which have to be harvested. And in the film you have seen that you can access the Data Hub we are via a web interface, and you can search in it. You can look for topics, you can look for providers, you can look for filters, and we are experimenting with eye tagging, for example, in the next release, that if you have a geo coordinate of a location, then the eye tagging facility will automatically add the state or the city name to this data set, so that you can look for different states, or must not know the geo coordinates in detail. So this eye tagging feature for searching will be another feature. Next is that we have implemented an open search interface, so that we can get harvested by the open search interface. So if you are a consultancy and you have own programmers, you must not go to a web interface to us. You can also attach your programs and look automatically in our data hub. And the first one will be the open search interface. And if we have enough demand for it, we will also go into semantic web technology, so that we have an RDF and a Sparkle interface to search our data hub. So we will have a lot of more advanced technical features there, but we have also some interesting plans for content. So we will expose our pilots more. As I mentioned, for example, agriculture, we are looking for digital farming to bring satellite data and in situ data from measurements from the Earth to improve not only the crop performance, which might be greater by 15% through Earth observation measures, but also the groundwater, where we can see, are there too much nitrates because of our nutritions. And another example would be the smart city, where we see or where we look at air pollution from satellites. The last one who got up is Sentinel-5B, and he's delivering data now and for several gases in the atmosphere. And we have also water pollution data and energy data, so that we can see in smart cities where can we build solar collectors. So we will have a solar atlas to look where it is a good place to install those facilities. So this more content related topics will come up also more in the first quarter of 2018. And we will look then to external partners, which are not the 27 of our consortium, but might be such partners as consultancies who want to consult farmers, or who want to consult in mayors in cities, how they can improve their city to a smart city by Earth observation data. And on the technical side, we will look in 2018 more to the metadata standards. We are now harvesting with CKAN own facilities, but we are looking at Dublin Core metadata standards, as well as DCAT or even GeoDCAT, which is now in production or in defining. And there are also some ISO standards which we will look at, and but we will look pragmatically on it. So we will implement those first where specific demand for usage is it, to bring benefits to people, citizens, to state and economy, and not only for academic purposes. So this will be exciting too on the more technical and search side. Bente.
Yes. So just a remark. All these pilots that you're mentioning, this community. So NextGEOSS Data Hub is not meant to replace the community portals. What NextGEOSS is doing, right, Wolfgang, is just to add another tool that they can use for their community portals. So it's not replacing the community portals. For instance, around agriculture, you have the GeoGlam in Geo, for instance, and of course they have their own portal and community. And that what NextGEOSS is doing through the CKAN-based data hub is to facilitate, particularly perhaps when the possibility to find data that is normally outside the community. For instance, I mean, we are talking more and more about cross-disciplinary research, and some of the applications actually require data from many different communities. And I believe that NextGEOSS and the data hub that we are building is going to facilitate that. Am I correct?
Yes, and to give you a picture, we are harvesting the raw data, so everybody can access these raw data as open data and build his own applications on it. Then we, on a normal web page, we will link you to other people who have applications. Example, for time series analytics is, so if you have a lot of pictures how the crop is going over the time with a photo, and then somebody will add numerical data from whatever he has numerically and puts it on the photo, so you have a value-added data set, and this value-added data set we will also make available.
Exactly. Plus, through the NextGEOSS data hub, right?
Yeah. Just through a link, and we will link access to applications who provide these things. For example, I've seen last week from DLR here in Germany an application where in cities the air pollution with NO2 is exposed, and you can drill down on a map and see where the greatest hotspots are. Yeah. And this is what we and even the GLAM community is linked on the agriculture page, so that you have an access point where you get data, programs to interpret data, and communities to discuss data and the outcomes of the data analysis.
Yeah.
This is, I think, very exciting. And then, excuse me, and it's so that we are open to the source of our harvesting, and we are open to other communities to make the farmer happy.
Yes, to make the farmer happy. And so when you go, if you go into our data hub currently, you will see that we have created sort of spaces, working spaces for the pilots. So topical, the themes are reflecting our pilots, and that is to accommodate those communities. Is not to replace. I just want to stress that for those who are watching this for the first time and not so familiar with our approach. I'm gleaning to the side here to see if you have written any questions, and I cannot see anyone yet. I think then we can go to reveal or ask people to help us develop these webinars, Wolfgang, that you and I are holding. We are doing this monthly, and one of our major motivations is to engage the community, and we would like to really know what you would like us to communicate about. So what the content of this webinar would be useful for you, basically. What type of information, if you are interested in using NextGEOSS or just staying informed about what's happening, what type of information would you like to get from us? We have created a very short survey that we will send to you. Well, actually, I posted in the chat already before we started. So you can see there's a link there to a Google survey that we would love for you to not only fill in yourself, but also share in your network. open data and the use of data is so important for practically every area of our society, and we want to facilitate the use of these data with the NextGEOSS Data Hub. So, and communication is 2 ways. It's not only one way, ideally. So that's why we really want you to help us, Wolfgang and I, to fill these webinars with the information that you are looking for. That we would really appreciate if you could do that for us. So
may I answer a question Mark has given?
Yeah, go ahead. We have a question for Mark. Interested in service rather than user-driven access. If I, for instance, as a farmer, come to rely on regular provision of a certain piece of information, how can I be sure it will continue? Will it be good quality? Will it be timely, etc.? Whose remit is this? Yes, that is the remit, is the data. This is a distributed data system. I'm not quite sure, Mark, if that is your question. I might actually try to get you in here so we can discuss. If you're open for that, just provide me with your email address and I can invite you into the room. Otherwise, we will try to answer the best we can now. It's a distributed data system, so the data providers or those who are responsible for repositories are continuing to have this. And I think we lost someone, did we? No. I don't know what happened. I lost Wolfgang, it seems. Sorry about this. I'll hope he will get back on. So Mark, it's a distributed data system. The quality, everything about the data is the responsibility of the data provider or those who are responsible for the repository. Now, if I understand your question correctly, continuity is of course important. Nobody, okay, it just seems nobody is responsible for a service. Yeah, well, it depends on the sources, of course, of the data providers who is responsible for the data provision. And you point to a very important question that we, particularly in Europe, is trying to address. And in the context of GEO, the Group of Earth Observation, and GEOSS, the Global Earth Observing System of System, we have now divided this distributed data system, if you like, a data management system, if you like, into regions in order to be closer to the users. And in Europe, we just launched the regional GEOSS called EuroGEOSS. Now, NextGEOSS, the data hub, will of course be an important component of that. But you have also Copernicus, and you have data from the Copernicus, well, of course, the satellites, and you have the Copernicus ground segment, you have the core services, and you will also have the DS. I will not go into all that but that's basically a first answer to your questions, and maybe that's something we can address in the future as well, the continuity, because that's really a key question I'm sure many have. Thank you, Mark. So any more questions for us now? I don't see any more. We have actually left the 30-minute mark. We have 8 minutes over. So unless there are more questions, I will say thank you so much for joining us in this webinar. Do follow us on Twitter @NextGEOSS or on Facebook Just search for NextGEOSS and find us on Facebook and stay updated on what we are up to. For general information, you can go directly to nextgeoss.eu. And today you met Wolfgang Zoll, who is no longer with us here on the screen anyway, but Wolfgang Zoll from Viderum, responsible for the development of the CKAN-based data hub, and me, Bente Liljaby, responsible for communication and also a member of the team working on the cold regions pilot in the NextGEOSS project. So thank you so much. I hope to see you next month. Stay tuned to see when we will have our next monthly webinar in January. Bye-bye.